Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. In a world more connected than ever, with billions of us linked through screens and satellites, a strange paradox is unfolding. Many of us feel more alone than ever before. This isn't just a feeling of sadness. Scientists are now calling loneliness a public health crisis, as dangerous to our health as smoking or obesity. Today, we're deconstructing the science of this unseen affliction. We'll explore why our brains are hardwired to feel lonely, how this feeling physically changes our bodies, and whether we are truly living through a loneliness epidemic. Let's start by defining the void. What exactly is loneliness? It's crucial to understand that loneliness is not the same as solitude. Solitude is the objective state of being alone, which many people enjoy. Loneliness, however, is the painful, subjective feeling you get when there's a gap between the social connections you want and the ones you actually have. It's about the quality of your relationships, not the quantity. You can be in a crowded room and feel profoundly lonely. Psychologists break this feeling down into three distinct types. First, there's emotional loneliness. This is the ache that comes from the absence of a close, intimate bond, like a romantic partner or a best friend you can tell anything to. It's the need for a deep, nurturing connection that isn't being met. Second is social loneliness. This is the feeling of lacking a wider social network. It's that sense of not belonging to a tribe, be it a group of friends, a community, or a team. You might have a partner, but still feel like you don't have a circle of peers. Finally, there's existential loneliness. This is a deeper, more philosophical form. It stems from the fundamental awareness that we are separate beings. We are born alone, we die alone, and our innermost thoughts and feelings can never be perfectly understood by another person. This type of loneliness often surfaces during major life questions about meaning and purpose. To measure this, researchers use tools like the UCLA Loneliness Scale, which asks questions about companionship and feeling left out, to quantify this deeply personal experience. What might surprise you is that this painful feeling of loneliness is a relatively modern invention. Before the 19th century, the word loneliness was often used to simply mean loneliness or the state of being alone, and it didn't have the negative weight it carries today. In pre-modern, close-knit communities, being truly alone was rare. The Industrial Revolution changed everything. People moved from rural villages to anonymous cities. Individualism began to replace the collective. It was during this massive societal shift that loneliness started to mean what it does to us now, a distressing feeling of disconnection and alienation. Fast forward to today, and you'll hear the term loneliness epidemic everywhere. The U.S. Surgeon General even issued a public health advisory about it. Proponents of the epidemic idea point to startling statistics. Surveys suggest about half of U.S. adults report experiencing loneliness, and a global Gallup poll found that nearly 1 in 4 adults worldwide feels the same. The health risks are what really sound the alarm. Research has shown that the mortality impact of being socially disconnected is comparable to smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. It's considered a greater risk factor for early death than obesity or physical inactivity. But is it really an epidemic? A growing number of researchers urge caution. They argue that we lack good, long-term historical data to prove we are lonelier now than in the past. Some studies even suggest that loneliness levels have been fairly stable for decades. These critics also point out that people often confuse the feeling of loneliness with the state of being socially isolated. An increase in single-person households doesn't automatically mean an increase in loneliness. They suggest that calling it an epidemic might be a form of moral panic, distracting us from deeper societal issues like economic inequality or the decline of public spaces. Epidemic or not, there's no debating that loneliness is a serious issue. So if it feels so bad, why do we experience it at all? From an evolutionary perspective, loneliness isn't a bug. It's a feature. It's a crucial survival mechanism. Our ancestors relied on being part of a group for protection, hunting, and raising children. According to the evolutionary theory of loneliness, pioneered by the late Dr. John Cacioppo, loneliness evolved as a biological alarm system, just like hunger or thirst. Hunger tells you to find food, thirst tells you to find water, and loneliness is a powerful signal that tells you to seek and repair social connections to ensure your survival. This social pain isn't just a metaphor. Using brain imaging, neuroscientists have discovered that the brain regions that light up when we experience social rejection are the same ones that activate when we feel physical pain. Your brain processes a bad breakup or being excluded in a similar way to a physical injury. This highlights just how fundamental social connection is to our very being. When this alarm system of loneliness becomes chronic, it takes a devastating toll on our bodies and brains. Let's look at the physical scars. Prolonged loneliness is linked to a significantly increased risk of premature death from all causes. It's associated with a higher risk of cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, and strokes. It weakens your immune system by increasing chronic inflammation, making you more susceptible to illnesses. It's also linked to an accelerated risk of neurodegenerative diseases like dementia, and it disrupts sleep quality. The brain itself also changes. The brains of lonely individuals show distinct patterns. They enter a state of hypervigilance for social threats, becoming more attuned to negative social cues and potential rejection. This can create a vicious cycle. You expect rejection, so you act more guarded or hostile, which in turn pushes people away, reinforcing your loneliness. The brain's reward centers also show less activation in response to positive social stimuli. Furthermore, loneliness is associated with elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol, which wreaks havoc on the body and brain over time, and it can impair executive functions like decision-making and attention. So what are the modern culprits driving this? The reasons are complex. First, there are demographic shifts. More people are living in single-person households than ever before. We're marrying later and having smaller families. Life transitions are also major triggers. Moving to a new city, retirement, the end of a relationship, or bereavement can all plunge us into loneliness. Health conditions like depression, anxiety, or chronic illness create a two-way street, both causing and being worsened by loneliness. And of course, there's the double-edged sword of technology. For some, social media can be a lifeline, helping them stay connected. But for many others, especially younger people, using technology as a substitute for face-to-face interaction can amplify feelings of loneliness and social comparison. The key seems to be using technology to supplement real-world relationships, not replace them. The situation might sound bleak, but loneliness is not a life sentence. We can take steps to mend our social fabric. On an individual level, therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, have proven very effective. CBT for loneliness helps people identify and challenge the negative, self-defeating thought patterns that keep them isolated. It's about changing the way you think about social interactions. Other strategies include practicing mindfulness to better tolerate the discomfort of being alone, and focusing on strengthening the quality of the relationships you already have, rather than trying to accumulate a large number of superficial connections. On a broader scale, communities and societies can act. This means creating and protecting social spaces like libraries, parks, and community centers where spontaneous interactions can happen. It means promoting group activities built around shared interests, like clubs, sports, or volunteer groups, which are powerful ways to build a sense of belonging. Ultimately, understanding the science of loneliness is the first step. It's a deeply human experience, an ancient biological signal that reminds us of our most fundamental need, the need to belong. Tackling it requires us to look both inward at our own thoughts and outward at the structure of our communities. In a world that so often values individualism over community, the fight against loneliness is really a call to rediscover and reinvest in the profound power of human connection. It's a reminder that as a social species, we are not just stronger together, we are healthier and happier when we are truly connected. Thanks for listening to G Fun Facts Online.